Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, August 6th. Today we will continue to have impacts to fire potential from gusty winds and low relative humidity over the southern and eastern portion of the Great Basin, where wind gusts will range between about 30 and 35 miles per hour, with single-digit relative humidity impacting plenty of our large fires across the basin. We will also have some breezy conditions as a cold front moves through central and eastern Idaho. These winds will also be gusting between about 20 and 30 miles per hour with relative humidity in the teens. We'll also see some isolated lightning still across Idaho and possibly some isolated thunderstorms in the higher Sierra both today and tomorrow. As we move into Friday, the weather gets a little interesting over parts of northeast Nevada into southern Idaho, as we may see a return of lightning a little bit further south, and we will continue to monitor this as these thunderstorms both today and tomorrow will likely have little rainfall with them in most areas. Tomorrow we'll also see breezy winds continue in the south, and then on Saturday some breezy winds over parts of southern and eastern Idaho. Over the last 24 hours, we've only seen a light precipitation associated with some thunderstorm activity that moved across far northwest Nevada into Idaho yesterday and overnight into early this morning. We also had a few thunderstorms in far northern Utah. Great Basin fire activity was light, with 18 new fires reported for just over 1,200 acres, with over 400 acres of growth on our large fires. We also had a few new large fires over parts of Idaho. Over the last 7 days, we've seen very dry conditions over much of the region. This does not account for the thunderstorms that moved through Idaho yesterday, but again, with that being very light precipitation, again, very dry region-wide, which has allowed our fire danger to escalate. Currently, our ERCs are between about the 90th and 97th percentile or higher over the southern half of the Great Basin, and even now across Idaho, we've seen those ERCs increase to above the 80th percentile. Looking at a couple of our ERC charts, further north up across southern Idaho, you can see how those ERCs have continued to increase fairly rapidly and are now above the 80th or 90th percentile in some spots, especially over southern Idaho. And then further south in the basin, we are seeing our most critical fuels, where ERCs are obviously well above normal and well above records for the time of year, just with the lack of monsoon moisture. Our satellite image from this morning shows a trough of low pressure. That is, the first wave has moved through the northern part of the Great Basin, and we'll see that second wave move through today, again with some thunderstorms continuing in the north. Otherwise, dry and breezy conditions south and east of that area of low pressure over southern areas. So for later today, you can see the dryness, especially over the southern half of the Great Basin. And again, this is where we have our high risk for gusty winds and low relative humidity. Again, some high risk up north in Idaho for winds, and then also that high risk for lightning continues for isolated thunderstorms we will see redevelop later today. Relative humidity will remain in the single digits in the south and will elevate a little bit today from what we saw yesterday across Idaho, but still remain between about 15 and 20%. And the wind picture on the right, you can see where those gusty winds are located over the eastern and northern half of the Great Basin. Looking at conditions on Friday, we will see that dry air remain in place in the south with some breezy winds. We also will have a little bit of energy over parts of northeast Nevada into far south central Idaho and along the Sierra for some possible isolated thunderstorms tomorrow. We do not have any high risk for these areas. We will be watching this area, especially over northeast Nevada into far southern Idaho for that potential tomorrow, as we could get a little bit greater coverage of lightning in those areas. So again, keep monitoring the weather in those areas as we move into Friday. On Friday, relative humidity will remain unchanged, single digits in the south and around 10 to 15% in the north, maybe a little bit drier in Idaho tomorrow. And then the winds will be decreasing, but still somewhat breezy over southern Utah and the Arizona Strip and south central Idaho. As we move into Saturday, we have a weak area of low pressure off the California coast. This will aid in, again, some thunderstorm development over mainly the Sierra. Most areas should remain a little bit quieter tomorrow, so we do not have any high risk. Relative humidity will remain in the single digits again, very similar to Friday, single digits down south and in the low teens up north. Winds may pick up a little bit more on Saturday from what we'll see tomorrow in Idaho, so we could see some gusty winds again around 30 miles per hour for any incidents that develop or are ongoing up there. No real significant precipitation the next few days. Again, just very spotty with any lightning activity we see across Idaho or into far northeast Nevada or the Sierra. As we move into later in the weekend, on Sunday, we'll see fairly dry conditions, no high risk issued for the Great Basin. But as we move into Monday and we have an area of low pressure skimming us from the north, We could see thunderstorm activity start to develop over parts of western and northern Nevada, possibly into up into Idaho and maybe far northwest Utah. We do not have any high risk at the present time, but we are watching this scenario for Monday and Tuesday next week for that thunderstorm development, and will likely have some high risk in some of those areas as we go through the weekend. So Monday and Tuesday for that return of lightning for western and northern Nevada up into Idaho and northwest Utah. As we move into Wednesday, we'll probably still have some lingering moisture for some isolated thunderstorms in the north. And then as you can see from the 7-day total precip, any thunderstorms we do see probably will be on the lighter side with respect to precipitation. We're not expecting any significant precipitation across the Great Basin for the next week. The 8 to 14-day outlook, which takes us from August 13th through the 19th, shows cooler weather across much of the western half of the Great Basin and near normal precipitation with drier conditions in the east. We do look like sometime in the next 7 or 10 days, going towards next weekend or the following week, that we may have some moisture that moves into Utah, at least on a temporary basis. So we could see a little bit of relief at some point towards the middle of the month. Otherwise, we're looking at generally dry and breezy conditions. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.